You know that feeling, right? When you've been waiting for something you believe in with your whole heart, and then suddenly this moment of doubt just creeps in? Well, today we're jumping into a story that's 2,000 years old, but it asks a question that feels so current. What happens when unshakable faith gets tested in the toughest way imaginable?
It's a simple question, but man, it gets right to the heart of things. When you're waiting for an answer, for a breakthrough, for a promise to finally come true, do you ever have that little voice in your head that starts to wonder if you got it all wrong? Just think about a time you felt that. We're about to see how one of history's most faithful people wrestled with that exact same feeling.
All right, so let's set the scene. Our story doesn't kick off in a palace or a temple. No, it starts in one of the most lonely, hopeless places you can think of, a prison cell.
I mean, just try to picture it. It's dawn. You've got these little beams of light cutting through a tiny window, and all they light up is the dust hanging in the air. This isn't just about physical walls. For the guy inside, it's become a prison of waiting and a prison of questioning.
And sitting in that cell is John the Baptist. And look, this isn't just some random guy. This is John the Baptist, the rugged prophet, famous for his fierce, unwavering faith. He dedicated his entire life to one single mission, to tell everyone the Messiah was coming. But now he's locked up. He's isolated, and that legendary faith is being pushed to its absolute limit. So, from that darkness, he sends his disciples to Jesus with this question, and wow, it just hangs in the air. It shows such a deep vulnerability. This is the man who baptized Jesus, the one who saw the heavens open up. And even he is asking, are you really the one I've been waiting for? Or did I stake my entire life on a mistake?
So, how in the world does Jesus respond to a question that raw, that honest? Well, his answer is probably not what you'd expect.
Yeah, instead of just sending back a quick, reassuring, yep, it's me, Jesus does something way more powerful. He basically tells John's disciples, hey, stick around for a bit, watch. He chooses to answer not with a word, but with action.
And this is what they see. Jesus tells them, go on back to John and just report what you're seeing and hearing with your own eyes. The proof he gives isn't some complex argument, it's real, tangible change. The blind, they can see. The lame, they're walking. The sick are being healed. It's mercy in action, right there in front of them. Then he adds this final message, and it's aimed directly at John. And notice, it's not a scolding for his doubt. It's an encouragement. It's this gentle but firm invitation that says, hey, hold on. The proof is all around you. Don't let your circumstances make you stumble now.
But the story doesn't end there, not by a long shot. After John's disciples head out, Jesus turns to the crowd that's been watching this whole thing go down, and what he says next just completely reframes everything.
So as the messengers are making their way back to that prison, the crowd is probably buzzing, right? They're left wondering what that was all about. And Jesus knows he needs to make sure they understand just how significant John is, even in this moment of doubt.
And this is where he drops this incredible paradox. First, he gives John the highest praise possible. He says, listen, among everyone ever born, no one is greater than John the Baptist. That's huge. But then he immediately follows it up with this mind-bending twist. And yet, the least important person in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he is. Whoa. What Jesus is doing here is signaling a massive shift. He's talking about a whole new reality, a new kingdom where the old ways of measuring greatness are being completely turned on their head.
And this, right here, is where this ancient story becomes really personal for us. I mean, how does this conversation from 2,000 years ago have anything to do with our lives today?
Well, first, let's just remember who was listening to Jesus that day. They were sick people, poor people, but they were also hopeful people. These are folks who knew exactly what it felt like to wait and what it felt like to desperately need a rescue. Now, take a look at this. Does that feel familiar? There is a straight line from that ancient, hopeful crowd to people of faith all over the world today, a diverse, global community. They're also praying, they're also waiting. And yep, sometimes they're also doubting, just like John was in his cell. What we're really seeing here is a timeless human experience. It's a cycle that so many of us go through. It starts with waiting, surrounded by uncertainty. And that waiting, it often leads to asking some really hard, honest questions that come from a place of doubt. But the journey doesn't stop there. It moves towards finding hope, not in a simple answer, but in seeing action, in seeing revelation. And that's where this story ultimately takes us. It goes way beyond John's question in that dark cell and points to this final, breathtaking vision of hope. It's not a vision of judgment, but one of glory, a picture of total peace with people from every single nation, all gathered together. This is the ultimate answer to the promise John was waiting for.
So all of this leaves us with a final thought to chew on. We started with the question of doubt from a prison cell, and we ended with this incredible, all-encompassing vision of hope. If Jesus' main answer to doubt back then was to point to his actions, what are those same actions? Healing, mercy, rescue.